what I'm accustomed to. So I feel good about it. I'm excited. We're looking forward to it, and hopefully we can have a good run.
We're going to talk about a tough subject here in a few moments, the late model bodies. We're going to talk about that here and get your thoughts and retrospects on that. But, it's funny you mentioned Jamie Yelton, the Forest City bad boy. I was actually last week after announcing 5 weeks for speed weeks in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and being away for 5 weeks working with Kate Dillon at CrateInsider.com. I went to the Copper Penny. Matter of fact, last Wednesday night, and we went to the Copper Penny in Forest City, and I'm sitting there eating my delicious, juicy steak with shrimps and all that good stuff. And I said to myself, what in the hell is that driver's name that used to live in Forest City, or he still lives in Forest City? And a couple of the ladies, they're not even racing fans. They were just like, oh, you're talking about Jamie Yelton. Oh, yeah, Jamie still lives around here. Yeah, he's really a bad boy. So that nickname, the Forest City Bad Boy, still stands. But I remember whenever I wasn't even working national events to this day, back doing the local stuff, working the NASCAR late model races at Martinsville or local events with URA, I remember seeing the Forest City Bad Boy, Jamie Yelton, in that black number 8 car. And it's really, really cool. He's still involved in the sport, and he's got you running the late models whenever you can be able to do the late model stock racing.
Yeah, they're great guys. They're a lot like we are, working hard and been racing for a long time. And we got to talking there. He had started running some super late models, and we got to talking. Didn't really know Jamie. I've heard of Jamie, and he was successful back when he raced a few years ago. And we got to talking there. Hey, let's put this deal together, and it's been good for us. They've done a great job. They've built a nice piece, and that deal was just kind of brought up. Starting conversation at the racetrack. So I've become friends with those guys, and they do a great job. So we're looking forward to racing with those guys and have some fun.
I'm going to take off the broadcaster role. This is a podcast, but I just want this just be me and you talking one-on-one. Obviously, we do have a listener base. What is your thoughts of the late model bodies and the war that's going on with these chassis and late models? And do you ever think we're going to try to come to some type of a compromise or some type of a peace truce on what these new bodies are, whether they're good, they're bad? What's your take on it? What do you think?
I've thought about this a lot, and I really, for the longest time, didn't know really how I felt about it, and still confused a bit about a few things. But now that I think there's some, without saying too much, I think there's a lot of information that us as drivers, owners, fans, that we don't know about the situation.
Gotcha.
And what's really going on. And I think there's more to the story than what they're letting out. After I'm kind of up in there. I see pros and cons to both of it. I see, it's hard for guys to go out and spend $4,000 or $5,000 on changing their bodies, and I understand that. I don't want to change mine. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It costs me. I have 2 or 3 cars, and it would cost me $10,000 or $15,000 to do, which is a lot of money. And then there's a side to where we need a new look. I think there's pros and cons to it. If we needed a new look, we probably could have just changed the nose and the hood and the fenders and the tail. So I don't know. I feel like maybe some of the things were handled in an incorrect way. And we could have been a lot farther along in this process if things would have been more open. So I don't really know where I feel. I know that the short track community needs to come together as far as racers and promoters and tech officials need to get on the same page. I think that's what's lacking a lot is there's not any communication with the people that spends the money like the drivers and the owners, and I think that's a big part of it. And I think there needs to be more of an open communication with those guys. And it's like running a business. You have to crawl before you can walk. And some of these people are making these decisions and never crawled before. So it's tough. There's pros and cons to it. Hopefully they can come to an agreement and we can work this deal out, because I feel like for the better of short track racing, we need to come together and figure this deal out. If not, we're going down a one-way street, and I'm going to do the best I can with voicing my opinions, and I'm not always right, and I'm always looking for other opinions and things like that, but here the last couple of weeks or months, I've really voiced my opinion on what I've thought and some changes that need to be made, and hopefully the racers can stick together and we can make some of this stuff happen. So there's a lot going on. There's some more news that's fixing to come out, I think, here in the next couple of days that's going to be a turnaround for a lot of teams and owners and tracks and things like that. So we'll see how that goes, man. It's just, it's tough right now, and I just try to stay positive and all the fans out there, and we can keep this deal going.
We're talking to Bubba Pollard here on our Finish Line podcast presented by All About Wraps. Remember, if you like to have a wrap job done at a reasonable price on your dirt late model, asphalt late model, modified, street stock car, mini stock car, your personal vehicle, helmets, they take care of all of that. Graphics and design, allaboutwraps.net. They'll take care of you again at allaboutwraps.net, proud sponsor of our Finish Line podcast. We're going to wrap things up here with Bubba Pollard. Brandon Pierce joins us in a few moments, wrapping things later on this afternoon with Ches Chester, winner of the Modoc 100. Bubba, I talked with Paul Szmal about this, getting his take on it as a broadcaster personality, as a driver in the sport. This past weekend, Southern National, great car counts for the Cars Tour opener. Whether you want to say it's the first race of the year, people are dusting, getting the cars dusted off, getting prepared for the racing season, and then the crowd was not very good Saturday, whether you want to blame it on the weather, chance of rain, what have you. I felt bad for Michael Diaz and Charlie Hansen and Jack McNeely and Chris Riggle and guys like yourself. I mean, it's got to be disappointing being a driver, watching off of turn 4, seeing a dismal grandstand when you're trying to race for a $10,000 to win race. And it's got to be the same as us being an announcer. You want to announce to a full crowd, an electric crowd. Does that feeling get to you guys being in the cockpit of a car, knowing that there's a dismal grandstand, there's nobody in the seats cheering you on?
Well, it does. And, and that's the reason I go to the Oxford 250. That's the reason I go to the Slinger Nationals. That's the reason I went to Washington and race. That's the reason I go to all these places, because there's no better feeling than to win a race or be driver induction, and those fans and the seats are packed. That's what I race for. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy those fans wanting to come up and get an autograph. I enjoy the kids. I enjoy that. That's what I want to see. That's the reason I race. That's the reason I get excited. I really believe, I hate to get off and get to talking too much on the subject, but weather did have a little bit to do with it. I think this is a subject that needs to be talked about, but, I've thought a lot about that, and, then again, I've mentioned a few things as some promoters and racetracks. I really believe that, nowadays in racing, we've seen racing go through a change. I don't necessarily know we've seen racing go through a change. We've seen people go through a change in everyday life and things like that. And now there's so many different things for people to be doing. Now, when I was growing up, I wanted to be at the racetrack, with my dad, barefoot, ride bicycles, whatever it was.
Absolutely.
Now you see kids on computers and TVs and things like that. So I think the way racing, people's interest has changed. There's so many different things that people can do nowadays on Saturday and Friday and Saturday nights. Ball games, this, that, and the other, and just so many different things. But make a long story short, I believe, and I'm a traditional guy. I've grown up, 100-lap races, 150-lap races, 4 tires. But that race the other night was born for a fan. We need to do something for the fans to get excited about. Their attention span is short nowadays. But nobody wants to see these long NASCAR races.
Do we need to see stages in the Cars Tour like we see in the Cup Series to try to make it exciting?
Do we do what now?
Do we need to see stages? Do we need to see stage racing in the Cars Tour like we've seen in the Cup Series?
I don't necessarily know that we need to be doing stage racing, but I look, just from, you look at dirt track racing, and the stage racing may be what you need. I don't know. But I think we need to change the way we race. 150 lap race, 4 tires is boring. You either have to throw some pit stops in there, and they ain't got to be live. But I think we need to change the format of racing. Yeah. Knockout qualifying was great the other day. That was cool. I like that. But I think we need to draw, and we need to do some dirt racing. We need to run some heat races. We need to run heat races because we need to draw for those heat races. Let's just say me, Preston, Mason Diaz, Matt Wallace, Stephen Wallace all got in the same heat race the other night. Well, there's a good shot. There's a good chance of us. That was a top 5 during the race right there. If we get all in the same heat race, we can start, deep back in the field, and we got to race our way forward. And we got to do it during the heat race. Gotcha. We got to do it, in a 50-lap feature, 75-lap feature. There ain't going to be none of this riding around no more. You're going to have to get your job done. You're going to have to get it done fast, And I just believe that some of these races need to change. They're too long. They're not exciting. They're boring. I'm not being negative, but I think it needs to change. I think we need to do something exciting.
Hey, Bubba, Justin McCowan says, what about invert and pit during races? What about doing an invert and then you do pit stops during the race, an inversion?
Well, I don't like the invert. I mean, it's the same, but then when you go to invert and you get people lagging back and not really running hard either because they're going to invert. You know what I mean? So there's so many different ways, but if you shorten up these races and you make these guys heat race, you cut out some of this practice day before, and you make it more exciting, as far as, giving them 2 tires at some point during that time or what it may be. I mean, we could talk about this for days, and there's so many different things, but something has to be changed with the formats of these races. They're too long, too boring. 4 tires, we rode around all night. You stuck 2 tires in the middle of that 100-lap, 50-lap race, yeah, it cost us racers more money. Right. I understand that. But if we can get more fans in the stands and help us, not have to be there a day extra, I'm all for it. I'm all for spending a little bit of money if it takes, more fans, because if more fans we can put in the stands, more they can give back to us. So we're going to get back in return if we can put people and make something exciting for them to watch.
I hope that some of the powers that be either hear the rebroadcast of this or I share it to some of the sanctioned and body people that I know in the sport, because you're dead on it. And this is not just you being a winning race car driver. You're speaking from the heart. I can hear the race fan in your voice because you're a race fan first. I'm a race fan first before a veteran broadcaster announcer.
You're exactly right. I mean, I'm growing up doing this. I want to see the sport survive.
Definitely.
We need to figure out how to cut the cost of racers, but, some of these guys are going to have to get off their butts and they're going to have to go to work and find some sponsorship. This stuff of making the money off racers, not everyone's doing that. Them days we need to get back and we need to work hard. You need to work hard like I'm working hard. Find some sponsorship so we can put money back in it and make things exciting. There's so many different things if everyone wanted to get together. Yeah, and some racers are going to moan and groan about it, but I think it needs to be changed. This is just something we're going to have to do, whether you like it or not. But in the long run, if it can save us money and make racing better, I think it's worth it. You're not going to make everyone happy because there's things that I don't agree with.
Absolutely.
But I suck it up and go on, But if it can put more people in the stands, make something exciting for, race for, and one thing too is, if you have to run through some heat races there's some guys that's going to respect their equipment more.
Absolutely, yeah.
They got to race hard, but they got to respect their equipment because they got to make it into that feature, So there's pros and cons. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, but I think it'd be more exciting.
Bubba, in closing, I'm going to say this, bud, because we got to get Brandon Pierce on the program. In closing, I have seen you've raced all over the country. I've announced races all over the country. I have seen super late models, dirt, asphalt, pro late models, dirt, asphalt, drag racing, karting, Munster trucks, you name it. It's really a shame that we couldn't have a full house at Southern National for a big event like was the Solid Rock Carriers 300 for the Cars Tour and what Michael Diaz has done at that track. But you had a packed house on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon for Munster Jam inside PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. But in addition to that, we have taken the fun out of the sport. You won a race that paid $10,000 to win. Bubba, Pollard,